Hello, everyone. My name is Mark from the Misplay Podcast, and you're listening to Eternal Journey, everyone's favorite Eternal podcast.
Welcome to Eternal Journey, the podcast.
What is up, all my knights and padawans out there? Welcome to Eternal Journey, the podcast that talks about all things eternal with a focus on limited play. I'm your host, Jedi, and this is episode 60. That's right, we are creeping up there quick, fast, and in a hurry. And this week we have a special episode for you, both in the fact that we're going to be talking a little more constructed this week. Going to be breaking down the new cards from the latest quote-unquote campaign, even though we kind of just get the cards this time, called Whispers of the Throne. And we have a special guest that I'll be introducing in a moment. But first, I want to bring back my good old friends and co-hosts that you hear time and time again on this show. Coming from, I don't know, I'm hoping sunny California. We have Darth Herman 2. Alex, how you doing, buddy?
What's up? Doing well. Trying to stay safe. What are you guys doing?
Same.
Trying to climb the ladder again. But the other completely and utterly smooth talking voice you hear there is John Holio. John, what's the weather like today, since I feel like it changes from day to day with you?
That's exactly how it is today. It's a nice day today, and it's going to be 6 inches of snow tomorrow.
Nice. And I guess quarantine's been working out pretty well for you, considering you've been jamming out some COD Warzone.
Yes, sir.
Nice. All right, and of course, now I get to introduce our special guest. I won't say a good friend of mine, more like a good envy of mine, but hopefully I can convince him to stick around if he doesn't leave halfway through the show. Our guest has 5 top 8 finishes in the ECQ/World circuit, if that gives you a hint. There was a top 4 in World, a part of the Barbarian camp, or member, I should say, and then, of course, a win of an ECQ. That's right, first place, which is how they got to World with the infamous Shamer Pack deck. Do you know who our special guest is? I know, and it is Collector. Brad, how you doing today, buddy?
Good, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. So glad I get someone that is highly more certified to go through this constructive breakdown of cards than I am. So hopefully we won't be completely swinging and missing here. So thank you so much for being on the show. All right. So a couple of things real quick. Housekeeping. When I mentioned twitch.tv/Jedi_EJ, where you can catch myself. Actually, Collector's been in the chat quite a bit. So actually you still get his great knowledge and wisdom of the format. Actually, how's your drafting been?
It's been fine. I haven't done it much these past few weeks just because I'm busy with other things, but they've been going well. So
fair enough. I guess that works out, right? While you're brewing for Constructed, you can kind of get your limited fix by watching the various streamers we got. Yeah, which is actually, I do want to touch on that actually on a side tangent. I gotta say, I'm starting to feel like limited streamers have overtaken popularity on Twitch now, because when I'm thinking about limited streamers, normally I only had like 2 or 3 people to say, and now there's a long list where I almost forget somebody. Are you guys catching that too?
Yeah, I guess so, now that you mention it.
I think most of the constructed streamers, there aren't a lot of, serious, like, competitive left, and a lot of people like watching that, so.
True.
Fair. Maybe that's what I'll do on my 4th day of streaming. Just pick like competitive decks and try to brew and stuff and climb the ladder effectively. But yeah, you can catch that every every Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, twitch.tv/Jedi_EJ. And of course, if you can't catch me live, check out the YouTube Eternal Journey on YouTube, where you can actually watch the visual version of this podcast. So if you are one of those people that you like to see the cards, I will have those on screen as we talk about it, as well as various draft videos, constructed corners, and all that other good stuff is going to be on there. And including my occasional tournament report, talk about how I punted making day 2 and the last 5 matches.
I'm sure he's working on the scratch and sniff version of it as well, so.
Are you part of R&D? How'd you know about this? That's it. We're going to have some security issues. We're going to have John, put it on the memo here. We're going to have a team meeting after this.
You got it.
I mean, the Barbarian Camp's already full of strong players. They don't need to be jumping on my secrets. It's like the small competitive edge I got here. Because, if you guys didn't know, scratch and sniff videos definitely make you play better. All right, so last things is our shout out section. We got a bunch of new people joining the Jedi Order this week. I want to give a shout out to Waffle Eater, Sir Rhino, which we'll talk about in a moment, Papa Capricorn, That Resolves, another great YouTuber. Man, actually a bunch of high name people here. Hoyt the Mage, and then Risper Visper. I want to give a shout out to them because they have made their 8th month resub, which means next month they hit 9 months. They earn their Yoda badge as well as getting a knighted ceremony, so I'm super excited about that. Going to be the 3rd person, I believe, to make the prestigious Yoda rank on the Twitch, so shout out to them. Speaking of Sir Rhino is absolutely amazing and was able to commentate on the most recent charity event, Pauper or Peasant event that we had this past weekend, which is a great segue, if I do say so myself, into the tournament. So that's right, for those of you that tuned in last week, you remember that we were having a peasant tournament this past weekend to benefit Child's Play, the charity from Penny Arcade, where they purchase various gaming consoles and age appropriate games to donate to hospitals and children that are in terminal illness / care facilities, I guess. I'm not exactly sure the technical term for it, but either way, they're kind of miserable, right? Dealing with things that someone of that age probably shouldn't have to deal with. And so donating these kind of games and stuff gives them a little bit of escape and allows them to be a kid for a little bit longer when they can in those facilities. And we had an absolutely amazing turnout, both in viewership, participation, and in contributions. We had 48 people start the tournament, which I gotta say was completely mind-boggling. Like I put 50 people as the cap for 5 rounds, and I gotta say, I didn't think we were gonna come anywhere near that. So when we were creeping up there, I thought I might have to expand that. It was pretty impressive. We generated a total of $1,235 to donate to the charity. So, I mean, just reaffirming the fact that we have a great community here in the form of Eternal, just, excuse me, very positive and caring and helpful. And that just really solidifies that we already knew. And yeah, we had at one point over 400 viewers, which was extremely impressive for a format that maybe not a lot of people knew was a thing, I guess. Even though it's not official, it's always kind of been lurking around, I guess. So that might be something we do a little more permanent or bring back from time to time, since it was a lot of fun. And the decks were actually surprisingly competitive, and it was definitely no slouch of a tournament, I feel like. You guys got any feedback for that before I break down the winners and the teams?
That was so much fun, and the turnout was incredible. Thank you so much, everyone that showed up in any capacity.
Yeah, did you guys prep at all for the tournament collector?
Yeah, we tested a few decks. I tried to brew a crappy Legion deck, which didn't work out very well, but it went well. So.
And what do you think of the format? Like, did you have a lot of fun, or was it just kind of a pleasant escape?
It was fun. It was a bit different than normal, especially without the campaign cards, because a lot of those would normally dominate what you're working with. So.
Yeah, that was actually feedback from the community. Initially, I had them all in there because I wanted some of the less played campaign cards to hit. But I guess if you open one, you kind of open the floodgates to all of them. And so the community feedback initially was like, "Hey, you might want to consider banning these," and that was a pretty easy call. And then John actually was the one that brought up the Conjuring cycle and how broken Invoke is, and I was like, yep, I mean, if we're banning the campaign cards, I think it's pretty solid. So we did that, and that was also openly accepted by the community very quickly. So ended up being a very fun format, despite still seeing some pretty amazing and synergistic decks. I did incorporate a team challenge as well. So a shout out to all the teams that participated. Were Seek Power Gaming, Team Misplay, the Great Parliament, Team Not Tavrod, Team Rankstar, our own new team, Team EternalJourney, the Barbarian Camp, Friends of Eternal, represented by Camel Milk, which I'll just go ahead and say it right now. They are not in the top 8, but Camel Milk went 5-0 drop. So kind of flexing their constructive prowess here and be like, I did my piece, I'm out, mic drop. And yeah, so those were the teams that participated, bringing in 3+ people. The Seek Power Gaming actually showed up with the biggest crew. I believe they had 7 contestants or participants in the entire tournament, which was pretty impressive. And then once again, shout out to Team Misplay and Team Rankstar. Both Team Rankstar represents also the Backlash podcast with Notorious GHB and T Chamber 5, as well as Team Misplay coming in with Gato Sujo and Parmalee being in the audience viewing the event. So shout out to both of them. Once again, shout out to Sir Rhino for coming in at a pinch. And initially he was going to just commentate top 8, but due to some internet issues on Kamato's side, he had to bow out early. Geez, English. And Sir Rhino was happy to jump in there and commentate for 6 hours, 5 hours, something like that. I don't know. It felt like all day to me. So
yeah, it was unfortunate that Kamato's internet wasn't cooperating because he was doing a fantastic job while we could hear him.
Yeah, he really was. It was absolutely amazing. I actually, at one point when the TO side of it started to get pretty heavy, I actually had planned to just put in Sir Rhino and Kamato and let them commentate, and then I'll handle the TO. But ironically, that's exactly when Kamato's connection started to go bad, which was a little double frustrating. But hopefully we could get him on again for another one in the future and kind of work out the timing of it or something. But all right, now the thing that you guys are waiting for is the result of it. Seek Power Gaming took it down, having 3 people in the top 10. So that put them as the highest or lowest scoring, however you want to view it, team, and thus they took it home. Starting from the bottom, working our way up in 5th to 8th place, we have our very own Dub Mike from Team EternalJourney that managed to make top 8 with a deck that you brewed, John. So yeah, shout out to you as well by proxy. And Dub Mike, great job, buddy. Great job. We have A rank, we have the Brian stage, and Doc28. The Brian stage brought a Rats Relic deck, which was a lot of fun. People really enjoyed watching it. And then Doc28, of course, part of the Misplay. And then 3rd and 4th place go to Noverb and Kartoffel. And then 2nd place was Jez2718, which was running the exact same deck that Kartoffel was. And then finally, which is extremely interesting, this was the deck that I had brewed up very quickly, and one of the ones I was testing, and Alex almost played it in the tournament. Dr. Pringles took the whole thing down with Combre Aggro. So that was super fun to watch them just really run over people if they stumbled on power or anything at all. So shout out to Dr. Pringles for taking down the charity event. All right, that is it. We're done with the shout outs. That was a bit of a long, but we got through it, guys. So thank you so much for being with me. And that leads us to our pack 1, pick 1. So Collector, you're new to the show. Are you excited to do a little crack pack action here?
Sure.
Excellent. So with that, this pack is brought to us by Zennyblade, part of the Jedi Order. So shout out to you, Zennyblade. Thank you so much for submitting this one. And yeah, I think there's definitely a little bit of a discussion to be had here. So let's go ahead and go through the cards very quickly. And I'll go through all the comments since we're pretty late in the format, Collector, and you can let me know what you think, and then we'll break down the commons and rare or uncommons and rares. So Precision Plunge. This is the 1-cost time fast or slow spell that gives a flying unit deadly and killer. We have Fury Blade, the relic weapon for 1 fire, +2/+1, and that's it. Stone Powder Bomber, the 6-cost double fire, 5/4 Oni for exalted on your turn. Triumphant Return, 3 and a shadow, slow spell. Draw a unit from your void. It gets +2/+2. Spellstorm Stranger, which has gone up in value a little bit for me, about a scotch. It's a 1/4 Stranger for 3 primal. And when 1 or more strangers attack, their owner's spells deal 1/+1 damage until their next turn. So your current turn, your opponent's turn, and then at the end of their turn, they go back to, or I guess as soon as the start of your turn is when they go back to whatever the normal cost. Magnificent Stranger, 2/3 for 2 at a time. When 1 or more strangers attack, reduce the cost of the top card of their owner's deck by 2. And of note, and confirm this if I'm wrong, but so I haven't been able to confirm this myself, but I believe it because I've heard enough people say it. Of course, it doesn't hit power, so if there's power, it'll skip that and go to the next thing that actually has a cost. But I've heard that once it takes something down to 0, it starts bleeding over to the next card. Can any of you guys
Correct.
confirm that?
Yep.
It does? Oh,
Yeah,
sweet.
that's correct.
Definitely does that. Yes.
Oh, man, so that makes like when you have 2 or 3 on the board even better. Sweet. Tainted Mark is the 5 primal cursed relic. When 1 or more units hit the cursed player, draw a card. And lastly, Contaminating Ritual, the 1 shadow fast spell. Give 1 of your units +1 attack, flying, and lifesteal. At the end of the turn, sacrifice it. So, Collector, any of these comments stand out to you?
For the commons, I'd probably looking at Magnificent Stranger first. I have a huge bias for time in this format, and just being able to venture stats while making all your things cheaper to cast is really strong.
So, one slight question on this: how do you feel about the symmetric effect of the strangers? Like, is that anything you really care about? You're just like, I'm gonna jam as many as I can in my deck.
Some strangers I care about more than others. Things like the 3/1 that makes a cultist. That being 3 and also being a 3/1 means you almost never get to attack with it first, so it is a lot less good in that situation. But ones like Magnificent Stranger, I care about the symmetrical effect a lot less because either A, they're dropping their own, they're dropping a Steely Stranger, which doesn't attack the best into it. That's fine, just kind of bounces. But then all the 2/2 strangers just get eaten by it. So if they want to slightly ramp for it, it doesn't matter much to me. I'll take the free card. So
Right on. Well said. Well said. All right, going into our uncommons. John, we have Resounding Shockwave, and we'll just move on from that. We have Essence Feast, which I guess we might as well mention because it is a thing somewhat for the.
Now you can skip that one too.
All right, fair. We'll skip. Well, real quick for everyone that does it. I mean, it really is. Like I've seen it do 1 damage and lifesteal. I think in 1 game, and that's about it. But anyways, Essence Feast is a 2-cost Felon slow spell. Deal 1 damage to each unit. Lifesteal while an enemy player has 10 or more cards in their void, and then if they have 20 or more cards, it gets deadly. So it's a one-sided, or actually it's just a board-wide period because it's each unit. Yeah, most of the time, at best, you're going to deal 1 damage to everything and gain 1 life. So, not very impressive. And then Dancing Flame. This is the 4/4 elemental for 5 fire. Fate. Dancing Flame gets charge, +2/+2, or its cost reduced by 2. Of note, it is Fate, so it is random. You do not get to pick. Any of these beat Magnificent Stranger for you?
Yeah, I think I'd rather first pick a Dancing Flame over a Magnificent Stranger. The card has a lot of upside, and if you start doing some recursion stuff with it, you can really get some payoff going. But I mean, just the 1 Fate trigger on it, I think the worst thing is probably charge in most situations, but sometimes even that can be good. It's like pretty good card.
Yeah, like there's always going to be the optimal one you want when you see it. But even then, I'm with you. Sometimes even if you don't get the one you really wanted, it still ends up being decent in most scenarios. Then Alex, you get our rare buddy. I'll say something about this when you're done. We have Purge Driver. This is the 2/2 Paladin for 4 Justice, Summon, Silence, and Kill an enemy unit with more than 1 faction. Corrupted 5. Alex, what do you think about Purge Driver? Good old camel fingers.
Yeah, like I tried it for science, and it's just pretty awkward. You pretty much don't ever get to play it when you need it, I guess. I know it does take out the giants, right? But I mean, other than that, it's like there's not very many multi-faction units, really.
Wait, does it? Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, they are.
Giants. It's about the only thing it takes out in the format.
Well, I'll tell you what. I do have the only confirmed kill from Purge Driver, and it was actually during a Goblin draft, and it was played against me. So it's somewhere in my VODs. I literally think that's the only time Purge Driver has ever killed anything. And it was my, I forgot the name of it now, the Gorgon Fanatic or whatever, the 3/2 that the Scream decks used to play.
Cards, right?
Yeah.
You got it right.
Yeah, I had it. I was on the play. I was like, cool, this might actually get in there. So I played it on 3, and then my opponent immediately played Purge Driver and silenced it and killed it. I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. So, all right, Collector, so do you think Dancing Flame will beat Magnificent Stranger here for you?
I mean, it's a close one. They definitely both have their own strengths. Like I said, I have a huge time bias in the format, so I'm almost always looking to get into that if, possible. So I'd probably just go with Stranger myself still, just because it's time. But
Fair. Alex,
Yeah.
tiebreaker? Oh, sorry, go ahead, John.
That's completely reasonable. Like if you just have a bias towards time, that's an easy pick then. I don't know. Like I don't know that I really have a bias, although I definitely do on some levels. But it's really close.
Well, I will say this. I did 2 drafts yesterday on stream. The first one was Menace because that's what was open. And granted, I did go up against, I think 3 out of my 4 opponents were in the top 20. And I went 1-3 with the deck. And then the very next one, I drafted Tradition. And I 6-2 or 7-2'd it. So no time in the deck, I lost. Time in the deck, I won.
Yeah, that seems to be a trend.
Exactly. I don't have a 7-win deck list that doesn't have time in it, so I can definitely appreciate that hard line on the Stranger. I kind of like it.
So is that your pick as well, Alex?
Well, no, I'd probably be dumb and pick the Dancing Flame, not being like trying to be a overall well-rounded like openness, I guess. I don't know. Like try to I don't know, like typically if time wasn't the best faction and you weren't certain of that, then it would be like the Dancing Flame pretty much.
I mean,
right?
Typically when I have to pick between 2 cards, I go with the lower cost one. Magnificent Stranger is a little unique for me because of the fact that I'm still kind of leaning a little more towards just picking the influence fixing strangers and let my opponent hook me up with the good strangers, but that's typically my rule of thumb. By the way, John, you're dumb.
What? Why? Oh no!
Because you were gonna pick Dancing. You're like, I'll go with Dancing Flame, and then Alex is just like, well, I guess I'd be dumb and pick the Dancing Flame.
Yeah, no, I caught that shade. It's all good.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I just So Collector's, probably the best drafter out of the 4 of us, and he's like saying that it should be the Stranger, which it makes sense. It's like that's what I was referring to. But
I see.
I Flame's definitely defensible, so
it's the 2-3. Like if I first picked many of those, and if there's any that I'm gonna first pick of the Strangers other than one of the rares, it would be that one. So
I honestly think, to be semi-political but still accurate here, I think they're both completely defensible picks. You take Mag Stranger, you are opened up to Rectifier, Corpse Bloom, and Waystone Gate. You take Dancing Flame, you're opened up to Seer, Shugo's Hook Sword, and Seer. So I think they're both defensible picks. And
then if I pick one Dancing Flame, I'm just as open to Rectifier next pack. Don't even sweat it.
Yeah, I mean you're open up to Destruction or Tradition, which are not Tradition. Yeah,
Creation.
Which are like Creation. Thank you, Creation and Destruction, which are fine. To be in. So.
All right, cool. So either way, long story short, we won't fall to.
You get to pick one off the rails. Oh no.
No, we've done that before. I say we go with our guest, and Mag Stranger's the pick here. All right. You guys are dumb. Be dumb. Be dumb together. Here at the EJA podcast, we're all dumb, and our guests are better than we are.
I mean, this one definitely has the accomplishments to back it up, so I guess we'll just go with it.
No, those are trash accomplishments, though, so.
Fair enough.
Because at Globo Gym, we're better than you. All right. Well, that's our pack 1, pick 1. So as we alluded to earlier, our main topic for today is going to be breaking down and giving you a card evaluation for the new cards that were released in the... Is there a name for these things? Did they solidify a name, or are we still calling them campaigns? Anyone know?
I think I've heard mini campaign, but I don't know.
Yeah, let's just go with campaigns still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta admit, like, let's go ahead and take a slight tangent right off the top, right off the beginning. Like, so where do you guys sit, starting with you, Collector, as far as actually having a story and some gameplay for these cards versus just getting them right away?
I mean, I don't mind getting them right away. Sometimes I wish I could, skip some of the campaign fights just because they're either annoying or not well built. But yeah, I don't really mind it.
Okay, fair. John?
I mean, I'm all for just some extra content and like playing a story whenever I want, or feel like it. But I also like just generally wish we could just have the cards unlocked when we get the campaigns. But like I get why they don't sometimes, since some are like, kind of story driven, and they don't want them just spoiled right out the gates for some people. I don't know. I do feel like I'm paying the same for a little less content here than sometimes, but at the same time, I paid for it with play money anyway, so it's kind of whatever.
Yeah, it does kind of feel that whole like pay to win, right? Because we're literally just paying for cards. But I don't know. I personally enjoy the campaign, and I've come to realize, especially the time we've been doing this podcast, that there's quite a few people or percentage of the player base out there that actually just plays against the AI.
It's
So,
true.
um, so that's something to consider too, right? Like that's straight up robbing those people of extra content, which could be a bummer.
Yes and no. I mean, obviously, they were just never planning to do one at all here anyway. This is like their model now, so yeah.
Fair, fair. And then Alex, where are you at on that?
Well, I mean, like if they're not going to like brew with the cards anyways, what matters if they have access to them, and then
True.
just give everyone access, and then whoever wants to do the story can do the story. That's what I think. But
Fair,
I just play the game.
fair. All right, cool. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right into it, guys. So once again, for those of you following along, not on the YouTubes, we are going off of the Eternal Warcry list, and we're gonna go right down the line. But of course, once again, you could be on YouTube and check it out on your screen. So first up, we have Milos Rebel Bomber. This is a card that I'm excited to brew with. This is a 3/3 Rebel Gunslinger for 3 fire. He has charge. He has overwhelm. I like it. When Milos hits the enemy player, put a firebomb into their deck. Firebomb is a 1-cost Destiny card, fast spell. Deal 5 damage to yourself. So of course what would happen is randomly they would draw this card off the top of their deck. It will deal 5 damage to them with a response window, if I remember correctly. And then you will draw your actual card for the turn. And then when the enemy player gains life, Milos gets that much attack and health. So should your opponent play, for example, Pause for Reflection, they gain 3 life, Milos will then become a 6/6, getting a +3/+3. All right, Collector, let's start with you. What do you think of good old Rebel Bomber here?
I think he's definitely one of the strongest cards that have come out in this campaign. He kind of slots into some existing decks like Stone Scar, I'm sure people have seen on the ladder. He shuts down all the Golem decks in Throne, and he's just a solid unit.
Yeah, I definitely. So, how do you feel about the double fire influence? Do you think that kind of locks him up into, like, I mean, or I guess how restrictive do you think that is? Double fire on 3. I mean, obviously Stone Scar doesn't matter because they play the champion, so their influence is very good. But maybe something like either a Sky Crag or Rakano build.
Yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. With all of the banners and insignias and those type of things existing now, most 2-color aggro decks can hit a double influence on 3, and he's still not like that bad to drop on 4 if they have to.
Yeah, the other good thing that, of course, is that charge and overwhelm both count as double battle skills, so that means he combos very well with Commando as well. Granted, being the slightly awkward thing where it's double justice in the 3 slot, but that's also something to consider where it swings in as a 4/4. Like you mentioned, you've already seen it in the Stone Scar deck, so have you just kind of seen it just as a solid card? Like there's really no mega synergy with anything else, and it's just a solid beater there to combo off with, or not combo, but run side by side with the champion.
Yeah, it's kind of replacing Rista in some people's lists, which is fine doing.
Ooh, that's actually a little interesting, isn't it? Because granted, Rista can't block, and that's a huge liability, but she attacks for 4 most times and gets your Warcry trigger. But the biggest thing is the fact that it guarantees your 4th power, which in aggro decks, sometimes, you're running very tight power bases because you want as many threats as possible. So do you feel the overall advantage of Milos outweighs your consistency with your power base there?
Yeah, I do. Like, it depends exactly how you build your deck. The ones that want Rista still probably will be able to go a little bit bigger still, so they might still play things like Dragon on 5 and whatnot. The ones with Milos will probably top out at 4 with maybe Vara at their slot there.
Okay, all right. John, do you have anything to add about Milos?
Not really. I think Collector basically said everything I was thinking about this guy. Like, I think people that just really hate Golem decks are just gonna prioritize playing this in their deck instead of things like Rista, I guess. But yeah, he's just kind of good. Like, randomly getting better, against life gain is just some nice gravy. But yeah, I think the random line of text for the firebomb is hosing those golem decks is pretty huge. And yeah, just solid stats and abilities, like, definitely goes well in any red focused aggro deck, I think.
Now, the one thing that is a little interesting because it has charge, right, is the fact that it's a 3 power, which I get it. I mean, a 3/3 for 3 is about standard, and with charge and overwhelm, it's a little bit above. But it also, now it kind of loses that, not that I ever had it. I don't know how to explain it correctly, but it loses that, and the reason why I say this is because of the lifesteal. I was thinking of Diesel's Office, but it loses the Eclipse Dragon effect of being able to take out a sight out of nowhere. So that's something to consider, I guess. But I was thinking in my head, like, they could gain a bunch of life off of Dizzle's Office and you play this in swing, but it has to already be in play to get the life or the bonus. But yeah, I think it's a solid card. Like, it's not absolutely backbreaking, but most aggro cards are not until they're smashing you and you realize that you're at sub 10 health before you get to your board wipe. So
yeah, and just the fact that it has charge and decent stats and overwhelm means, like, it's, if you're playing it on curve, it's going to have a very easy time generally connecting and getting that firebomb going if that's what your goal is.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, I mean, look at how powerful Whirling Duel is, right? And it's been around forever. And this is, I mean, granted, not quite lifesteal, but it still has some power in it. So yeah, I like it.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of these Golem decks running around right now, so.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I really like the artwork on this guy, if I can mention that. And I'm here mostly just to hear Jedi try to pronounce these names. Right.
Oh, yay, the troll is already great. Like, I don't troll myself enough. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it.
He's a rebel gunslinger, not a troll.
Oh, boom. Great. Don't ever come on the show again. Awesome. Actually, I don't know why, but I felt like they kind of gypped a little bit of the artwork. I mean, granted, I know he has explosives, but it seems very familiar to the Stone Powder Bomber that we've been drafting. So I think it's funny. He probably took the same vest or whatnot. Actually, I know he doesn't have a vest because his arms are all swollen from gripping that dynamite. Anywho, let's move on before I dig myself into another hole. Next up, we have Praxis Trove. This is the center point for the event preview event deck that they had. It is a 3 fire relic. All right, I'm gonna read this one twice because this one took me a minute to figure out on stream. When you play a 1 cost unit, play a random 1 cost spell from your deck. Then increase these abilities by 1. So when you play a 1 cost unit, play a random 1 cost spell from your deck. Then increase these abilities by 1. So you play something like a Seek Power or Chant. Or, correction, see, I already messed it up. Gosh darn.
You're already doing it backwards.
I know. Oh, God. So, you play, for example, your Nahid's Faithful. Then you will get your Chant or Seek Power from your deck played, and then both abilities will go up by 1. So then you have to play a 2 cost unit. For example, a Stranger or a Trailblazer or a Two-Face. And that will trigger a 2 cost spell from your deck. And then they will both get a +1/+1 or go up by 1, going up to a 3 cost unit to get a 3 cost spell. so on and so forth. It never goes back down, and it has to go in sequence, so you can't skip anything, and it has to be exactly that. So once it goes up to 3, if you play a 2 or 1 cost unit, nothing will happen. All right, John, you're the spells guy. Let's start off with you this time. What do you think of Praxis Trove?
This is like Johnny card incarnate, right? Like, I don't know. This does not seem like it could ever go in an actual competitive deck to me, but it seems like it'd be a fun build around to mess around with.
Yeah,
and mostly not work.
the biggest thing I saw just playing the preview event, granted I know those decks weren't tuned, but the fact that, I mean, these cards I already have issues with, right? Because you can easily, in a perfect world, you can sequence it and you'll get everything you want out of it. But let's be honest, these decks are randomized and RNG plays a role. And there's times where you could be sitting at 2 and never see your 2-drop, or you played it before you get there. Like, the sequencing is what really costs this card. And then you also have to build your deck in a manner where the spells you're getting have applications in quite a few scenarios, which may or may not line up as well. And then, of course, once again, you can't go back down. So you might curve out, do your 1, 2, and 3, and then you're like, well, I really want my 2 spell, but we're already at 3, and going to 4 doesn't do anything. And yeah, I just feel like you feel super smart when you get it to play out, but I don't think it's going to be consistent enough to warrant anything minus a meme deck.
No, and like, if you're trying to play this in Throne, for example, like basically everyone has some incidental relicate in their deck, either cats or gardens or just a boar or something in the market. Like, no one's gonna actually just let you go off. Like, maybe if you like send them a message in game and ask them really nicely, but other than that, I don't think you're really gonna get there with this card.
You just switch all your emotes to all the positive ones and stuff.
Why are you attacking me?
Yeah, and then of course there's also the thing too, right, where you go up, like, yeah, once again, what are you gonna do? You're at 4, they destroy it, and then you're sitting there like, man, I really hope I draw my 1-drop, on turn 6. Like, that doesn't, yeah.
So that I can seek power.
All right, moving on to the final red card, we have Yushkov, a Brutal Tyrant. This is the 5/5 warrior legendary for 5 fire. And it reads, once per turn, you may pay 3 and sacrifice another unit to deal its attack in damage to an enemy. Of course, it says enemy, so that means that you can go face or to a unit. And then, of course...
Or a site.
Oh, yeah, or site, true, nice. And it's another unit. So the unit itself is dealing damage. So if it has deadly, it can kill a large unit, etc., etc.
No, in this case, it's Yushkov dealing the damage, so he would have to have deadly, if that's what you're talking about.
And sacrificing the unit to deal... Oh, you're right. I'm so sorry. I misread that. Sacrificing another unit.
Does triggers mastery.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, okay, sweet. So, yep, mastery 12, gain Justice, Primal, and create and draw a Corvo Palace. So that, of course, is the palace, the dreaded standard a couple of seasons ago. And, of course, they give you the influence, which is kind of weird. I wonder why they give you the influence to play it, because generally in this game, whenever you draw a card that's wasn't originally in your deck, it gets rid of the influence cost. Do you have any idea why they did that this time, Collector?
I don't. I imagine just for flavor reasons.
Fair. All right, cool. So what's your take on Yushkov?
I like him. I like the idea of just kicking your opponent hard enough that you make a palace.
It seems like a good way to make a foundation.
But I think he's fine. Like, I know that later we're going to talk about a Tillier combo deck, and he is actually used as the finisher in that. And like, he's fine in like mid-range decks. I don't think he's going to see a lot of play, but he'll probably see some play in some kind of combo decks.
Yeah, right, because the 5 slot is highly contested right now, especially in Throne. And so, like, there's a lot of stuff to do, especially, with Eclipse Dragon. Granted, it's got evasion. Its stats are a little bit lower, but it's got charge and evasion, which is very powerful. It works well with fast spells. Any other big 5 drops that you think? It doesn't tussle well with Titan or Vara or Behemoth or Grodov Stranger. So yeah, I don't know. Do you think it's, what is it, like a two of, a one of something in the market? Like it's definitely not four of in any deck that you can think of, is it?
No, I mean, like, if it sees much play and thrown, it's probably going to be as a combo for its sacrifice ability. And then in Expedition, maybe it'll see a little more play, like a 5/5 is decent size, but you're probably just better off playing most dragons at that slot instead of Yushkov, so.
All right, John.
Yeah, I have like a soft spot for like fling style effects, so I think I'm gonna do some brewing with this guy, more for fun. But I basically agree with Collector here. Like I think as far as any competitive style play for this guy, it's going to be in some sort of combo deck. I don't see a lot of decks really even going for the mastery on this guy. But yeah, that's a fun thing for this very red card to be able to do. Like, it fits with the story and all that. That's cool.
So what is it? Does Kairos like bring him into play? He deals 5 to something, and then he kicks Kairos into the opponent's face, triggering his mastery and dealing 12 to the face. Like,
I mean, that sounds fun.
it's just like a giant trade off. Oh man.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. So that's Yushkov, a brutal tyrant. Going on into time now, we have one of this card has some Johnny's uproar for singleton formats. This is Archmagister's Portal. This is a 3-time relic. When you play a unit that doesn't share a name with any of your other units, or any of the units in your hand, deck, or void, it gets a +2/+2. So once again, just straight up singleton. Of note, if you make a copy of a card for some strange reason, that will negate it. I guess if you're, well, I guess it won't matter with the Scorpions, because I know that was a trick to shut down even-handed Golem, but they're still, you'd have to play. Never mind, I digress. Anywho, John, what do you think of Archmagister's Portal?
Yeah, whenever they do one of these events again, where it's a singleton event, this will see some play. Other than that, yeah, I don't see this really going in any competitive deck either. Definitely a Johnny card.
So
I was just gonna say, like, this would be a fun card to draft because it's not that hard to pull that off in a draft deck.
Yeah, none of these available in draft, unfortunately, but yes, it would be. This would be a good draft card.
You can invoke it in sealed, though.
That's true.
Ooh, all right.
Do you think that's got to be a bug though, right?
No, the sealed card pool is the entire throne card pool, so you've always been able to invoke campaign cards in sealed.
Yeah, I totally saw somebody invoke one of these campaign cards yesterday. Like
I've had
that struck me as weird. There you go.
The man, it's actually funny because we do see that quite a bit, right? Where we see at least a couple of commons, uncommons in these packs, or these things that would be great in draft, but like John said, by nature, because you have to pay for it, it defeats the purpose by putting it in a draft pack. One thing that did cross my mind though, and I'll start you off with this question, Collector, is that we're thinking in decks that everything is singleton, right? But we're seeing things with like Blade Crafter and mainly Dragon Forge, right? That we're starting to see this uprise in these toolboxy type decks where there's at least a third of the deck is one-ofs because you can tutor them up in specific situations. Do you think there'd be a place with Archmagister's Portal in those type of decks, or is it still like a little too cute?
For the most part, I don't think we have quite enough like tutors to make a toolbox like that, good enough. Something like Archmagister's Portal in like a throne deck, I think I'd rather just have Obelisk because it will, be more, you can have a more consistent deck at that point. Like we might be more likely to see Portal in something like Expedition, where the power level is kind of flatter across the board, so you can just kind of run all the different 2-drops and not have much difference between them. But whether or not that's actually good enough, I'm not sure. So.
Yeah, I guess this could also go good in a stranger deck, right? Just have a one-of every stranger.
Yeah, that's definitely something I thought about too. But I mean, That doesn't sound like a great Stranger deck, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think in most of these toolbox style decks, like, I mean, just being able to get that thing you need in that situation is already it's already good enough. And, who really cares if it has +2/+2 for
Yeah.
the most part?
Yeah, plus it's a little awkward too, right? Like the first thing that comes to mind is going back to Dragon Forge is you Dragon Forge for Eclipse Dragon on 3 and you're supposed to play this on 3. So it makes it a little
Yeah.
awkward. And then yeah, Eclipse Dragon's already good. Having a 6/6 Eclipse Dragon is great, but is it really that much better than just playing the Eclipse Dragon? So I get it. All right. Next up, we have an interesting little cute / weird bugger thing. We have Pesky Seedling. This is a 2/3 Mandrake for 3 double time. It has Killer, and then Summon, increase the cost of a unit in the enemy player's hand by 1. Corrupted 2. And of course, the Corrupted means that when Pesky Seedling will die, you get a 0/3 Shade that loses a life at the end of every turn of every one of your turns. And then, of course, you can pay 2 to sacrifice Seedling Shade to increase the cost of a unit in the enemy player's hand by 1. So it's kind of seeing somewhat the opposite end of the Alluring Kieran, right? The Alluring Kieran makes every spell cost 1 more. This essentially can make 1 unit cost more, but you do have to invest a little bit into it, and it is just that 1 unit. So sending it back to you, Collector. What do you think? Is this feasible in any kind of deck that you can think of, or do you think the tax / interruption just isn't quite powerful enough?
I definitely don't think it's powerful enough for Throne. Just too many powerful things to be doing there. In Expedition, I haven't had a chance to yet, but I've been wanting to try it in the Fire Time Shadow Machinations type decks, because you can throw off your opponent's curve and kill their 2-drop or 1-drop when you play it. As well as since it's corrupted, you get extra sacrifice fodder for the carvers and for faithfuls and things. So,
what do you think in a more traditional like Praxis tokens or Praxis build, where there's, like you mentioned, Obelisk or Waystone Fragment, where there's ways to make Pesky Seedling even bigger, or even with the Praxis deck that runs the Gladiator Stranger Gladiator that could pump it? So I mean, do you think there's some application with this card there, or still not really? You're just adding like suboptimal cards to your deck.
as far as like Throne's concerned, I think it's just still not going to be good enough there. Like, I'd rather play like Stinger or Tokens, or like pretty much any number of 3-drops. But as far as Expedition goes, there's not a lot of those global pump effects there. You don't have Obelisk, you don't have Waystone Fragment. You have Horn, but no one plays that, so it's hard to say there.
Okay, and one last thing, going back into Expedition, there was that not even Elysian. I guess it was even Elysian. I don't remember now, but the Elysian that comboed Touch of Battle with Torrential Downpour, right? Giving
Right, that was Throne, yep.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. Yeah. All right. Never mind. That's not going to be good enough for Seedling. Then I was like, well, you can give it Killer and kind of make it into a Wasp that it may or may not surprise. But yeah, it definitely not good enough for Throne. John, do you have anything to add on Pesky Seedling?
No, I think Collector was spot on this card. I'm definitely looking to try it out in kind of that FTS style deck. Maybe see, because people are already like running Rectifier in that 3 slot. I mean, this one has the double time, which might be a little awkward for that power base. We'll see. I definitely want to experiment with it in some Expedition, but yeah, definitely not powerful enough for Throne.
Yeah, I mean, there might be like a slight like disruption tax deck, right? You run Alluring and then this or whatnot, but it might be a little too clunky. Like, you might be disrupting your curve just as much as your opponents by playing these slightly suboptimal cards, right? But who knows? It's hard to say. John, man, I feel like, is the overall power level of this campaign a little bit less? I feel like we had more to talk about in the last campaign, or is it just me? Or is Collector just doing a bomb job of like breaking things down?
A little from each column there, I think.
Fair. I guess I did throw a lot at you.
Yeah, like, honestly, like I felt the last campaign when we were going through it, I thought was a little lackluster as far as the power level, except for like that one card, she which shall not be named.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some fun build around cards that we'll get to, and I mean, there's definitely some playable cards, especially in Expedition here, but nothing too incredibly busted.
At least, anyways, the last cards we're going to be talking about, the Trifaction ones, seem to be seeing a lot of play already. I don't know if it's just people brewing or them being easy inclusions into decks that are already there, but
yeah, a little bit of both, I think.
All right, I digress. Let's go into our final time card. We have Brown. I don't know, Braun. I'm gonna go with Braun. He's a giant.
Braun.
We'll go Braun.
Yeah.
Bruon.
Brown.
There's a comedian that one of his skits talks about different ways to spell the same name, and one of them was Sean, and he's like Shaun, so that's why it came to mind.
I see.
Brown Regal Courier. This is a 6/7 giant for 5 triple time +1 maximum power. Your cards can't be stolen. That's right. Take that Madness / Xenon Temple and Defile. Ultimate. Pay 8 to play an 8/8 giant. John, what do you think of Braun Regal Courier?
This looks like definitely playable in Expedition. Maybe there's some. Maybe this can slot somewhere into like that Marius Mandrake deck, since it's got an expensive ultimate on it. I think this is just for people who are just completely sick and tired of having Makar Stranger snatch up their cards all the time. It can kind of block a Grodov Stranger. The sad part is as soon as they attack with that Makar Stranger, they just kill it anyway, and you basically spent 5 to do nothing, or to not go down 1 card off the top of your deck. I don't know. Seems overall pretty medium, but yeah. Those are some real stats, at least, for 5-drop. And Expedition, that might mean something.
Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like it's too clunky. It's doing a lot of things, but none of them are very impressive, right? It comes down after Makar Stranger, so they're at least going to get 1 card from you. It dies the Makar Stranger. It gives you a maximum power, but when it dies, that power goes away, versus Grodov Stranger. It gives you the power and you keep it, might give you more. And then paying 8 to make a giant, I guess, is fine if you have nothing to do, but at the same time, like, this has to be around till 8 I don't know, collector.
Yeah,
I mean, it's it doesn't pass, like, for those who used to play Magic, like the old Jace test, where it doesn't do anything when it enters. Makar Stranger and Grodov Stranger both do something immediately, which is what makes them so strong. Is even if they get removed immediately, they still got their value. That's not happening here, so you're basically just paying for a large body, and the question is just going to be, is 5 triple time enough to just play a 6/7, which oftentimes the answer is probably going to be no.
Yeah, and then there's the awkward thing too, where even its +1 power doesn't let you play the giant next turn, because maybe there was that argument, right, where you drop it and then the next turn you can make a giant, but you can't. You'll play it on 5, then you'll pay your 6 power, so you'll be at 7 power, so you still won't even be able to make the giant. So it has to survive 2 turns to get your giant. Like, yeah.
7 make a giant would make it a lot more playable.
I agree. And I wonder if this is a card they end up tweaking later on in the future or not. I doubt it, but just curious. All right. That's going to do it for time. We're going to go into our first Justice card here. And, oh, God. Celestial of Light? Is that correct? Celestial?
Sure. Surely not.
No? Gosh darn it. What is it then?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to look this one up to be correct.
You have any idea, Collector Alex?
Seneschal? I don't know.
That's probably how I'd say it.
Oh yeah, okay.
All I know is that his head is way too small for his body.
Way too small. Or that's a very big Seneschal or whatever. I don't know.
It's anime armor. It makes sense. I dig it. It looks like Uther from Warcraft. I dig it.
He's an eye patch for some reason.
He's a veteran. He's got at least he has his mace on his his non-blind side, so it's fine. Having the shield on the blind side, I guess, seems a little okay.
His head curse, the head curse where they shrink it. That's what happened to his head.
Oh, he had the Beetlejuice problem. Fair.
Beetlejuice. There you go.
And then half of our listeners are like, Beetle who?
What?
All right, so say it again. Seneschal. Seneschal of Light is a 1/2 soldier for 1 justice. When the enemy player plays a card on your turn, Seneschal of Light gets +2/+2 permanently. Mastery 7, create and draw Citywide Band. Ban. Citywide Ban is a 4-cost cursed relic. Summon, choose one of the 4 highest cards in the enemy player's deck, or the enemy deck. The cursed player can't play cards with that name. Of course, one thing to note is that it also counts anything that you make your opponent do on your turn. So I think someone already tweeted the what is it? Fervorous Mandrake? What is it? The
Snapping Hydrangea.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. The Snapping Hydrangea, playing it when they had the good old soldier in play, and then all 4 of the plant tokens that they get, or I forgot what you get now. I don't even remember. Anywho, triggers, and then this guy gets +8/+8. So yeah, sending it back over to you, Collector. What do you think of this guy in some type of Justice aggro deck, I guess?
I don't really like him. There's much better aggressive 1-drops if you're looking for that. And then, his effect is only if they play a card in your turn, where for the most part, enemies can just main phase their things if they're worried about pumping him. I know there are things like that Snapping Hydrangea you can do to, grow him, and you kind of cheese that out, but that's not going to be reliable enough to do consistently, and I think that's kind of a unique effect. I can't think of anything else that will pump him like that.
I can't either.
Yeah, once again, it goes back to a limited thing, right? With things like Biting Wind and like ambush cards, this would be great in a limited format. But yeah, in constructed, one, Torch is slow now, so Torch kills it, and they naturally have to play it at a speed that won't this guy won't trigger. And yeah, you can easily just, cool, I'll wait to use my Char or my Seer on my turn. It still does the exact same thing. So I agree. I think it's a neat design, but you're not really going to get anybody. And then plus, any combat trick that you're going to use to pump this guy or something, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a scenario where maybe it negates a counter spell, but I think in most cases, if someone's going to use a counter spell like an Unseal or a Backlash, they're probably happy stopping the spell and giving your guy a +2/+2 versus letting the spell happen. But I could be wrong. I don't know, John. You play counter spells. Like, is this guy any kind of a threat to you?
No, definitely not. I mean, I think the one good application is what Collector just talked about, like the Hydrangea cheese. Like, especially in Expedition, having something that big on turn 2 is pretty much a legit threat, but you also just gave them a bunch of chump blockers, so then you need the third piece of the combo to get rid of all those chump blockers you just gave them to actually get this damage through. Like, this is just really cheesy. But I also thought Jack's Knife aggro decks in the last Expedition format were pretty cheesy, but they proved to be very popular and relatively effective. So I think maybe a surprisingly high number of people are going to try this move out in Expedition, at least. But no, I don't think it's not consistent enough for my taste. That's for sure.
Yeah, I just think about Oni Ronin, Oni Samurai. I'm sorry, Oni Samurai, that saw some play in some aggressive decks, and even then, if you got one attack in, you kind of somewhat got half a card back with the Warcry trigger, but that card was so medium, and this card seems worse to me, in my opinion. But
that deck also has just Oni synergies and things to go along with that card to make it less of a joke as the game goes on. So this guy, you're just, except for that one situation, you're basically giving all of the agency to your opponent to not make this guy bigger, which I'm sure they can play around.
Yeah, Wisdom of the Elders, like all the cards that your opponent might wait till your turn to do, they just main phase it, and they're like, all right, cool, I'll just do it on my turn. I still get the value off of it, I guess. Like, I don't. Yep. All right, moving on. Council of Heroes. This is for Justice Relic. When a player plays a unit, double its attack and health. All right. When you play a unit, move each unit in your deck one card closer to the top. See, and this is interesting because that kind of sounds a little bit good, but we've seen this in a Yeti card, and that card I don't ever remember it seeing play. So I don't know, Collector, what do you think?
In Throne, I foresee people trying to play this, and then the opponent goes, "Okay, Cat, make it a 6/10, and then blow it up," and then there'll be a lot of sadness going around.
Mm-hmm.
Fair, fair.
A lot of frowns and sadness.
And then even in Expedition, like, it's symmetrical, so you'll drop this on turn 4, then your opponent goes, "Okay, a Car Stranger, it's a 10/6. Like, your turn." Or I guess it's going to be an 8/6 because it's got nerfed, but
Like if it played a unit when it came out, or I don't know. This is just bad.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
a huge liability.
yeah.
I mean, even then, let's go ahead and go off of that, Alex. Right? So, what are you doing? You're waiting to turn 7 to play this, and then play a 3-drop, right? Because I can't see a 2-drop being extremely beneficial off of this. Like, yeah, it's too.
How yeah, no, the Justice, the Kodashi Stranger, that's a 3-drop, isn't it? That's the one I was thinking of, but yeah, that's not even a 2-drop.
Yeah, the only thing I'd like want to maybe try this with would be like some kind of 3-color deck with Workshop Forge, giving all my dudes warp, and making this like get them all to the top so I don't hit a bunch of power. But like that's just so far out there that it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then plus, like, don't get me wrong, doubling a unit stats could be pretty impressive, but we are in a Carver world, and anything without Overwhelm is just gonna get chump blocked, if not, obviously crack backed. So for more with lifesteal, um, yeah, I just can't think of anything where this would like Kodosh sees all. I guess gives you a 2/2 bird and then pumps everything or like moves everything. I don't know. Yeah.
Like if you identify that your opponent is on some sort of unitless deck and this was in your market or something, maybe it's a card.
Sure, but like the only place where you're probably considering that is Expedition. But the only thing that grabs this from your market is the blue one, the Transpose, believe, right? That grabs 4, and no one plays that spell.
I think people are starting to in like these TJP decks that are cropping up after this campaign released. But yeah, I mean that's definitely generally the worst of the bunch. And yeah, there's the 4 costs there. Ugh.
I mean, so where are you doing the broken things, right? Like assembly line, the Great Parliament, right? You make a bunch of 2/2s, you make a bunch of 8/8s, and then move all your units up 2 or 3 cards. I don't like that's best case scenario. And even then, I think that's still a little too cute, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could, right? In Combray, you could play this on. Well, no, at 7, you'd still only just make 1. Yeah, forget it. We're off of it. All right, Council of Heroes.
Most Combray decks have you dead by the time you play this if things are going their way.
All right, let's go with Roland's Warblade, which is interesting that you do another weapon like this, considering we're still living in a Vestige world. But hey, I digress. +5, +10. Relic or weapon. I'm sorry, it is a weapon. Never mind. I stand corrected. I thought it was a relic weapon. It is just a weapon, so it goes on your units. It is a 10 cost double justice weapon. A Roland's Warblade cost 1 less for each of your units that died this game. So throughout the course of the entire game, I believe it works like Witching Hour, so it doesn't have to be in your hand. It could be in your deck and it'll still start to get discount. Summon, kill each enemy unit with 5 health or more. So it's yeah, I don't know. I guess for the Winchest Carver deck, maybe, but they don't even care about going big. They just want to go wide. I don't know. John?
This one's making my head spin a little bit. Just trying to think about I imagine a world where somebody's like trying to have this in their market and like cheese it out at the right time, like with like maybe with Crack the Earth or something. Like wait for it to be 5 costs and get it out and get them.
Actually, I don't think Witching Hour triggers in your market, so I don't think this would either. Collector, can you confirm that?
Let me look up the wording on Witching Hour, but I believe Witching Hour requires it to be so Witching Hour is different. Witching Hours, when you play a non-power card, you reduce the cost. But this one just is less for each of the units that died this game.
Okay, yeah, I get you. So it keeps track of that regardless of where it's at. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, fair. I don't know. Like, I guess something that comes to mind is oh gosh darn it, I forgot her name now. The Combray leader. What's her name? The 05? Singrot? No.
Seraph?
Seraph, there you go. Like, you could put it on her and twist her to oblivion to make a bunch of dudes, but that seems like a little too cute too. I don't know. Like, I really can't think of anything that this thing would just be completely busted on more than, like, for example, a Caleb's Persuader if you're really talking about weapons.
Yeah, this is just a cute card.
Yeah, I feel like for this to see play, the meta needs to be exactly right. You'd have to be in some kind of Justice Space deck that makes a lot of units so that things can die, so that it can be at a reasonable cost. But not only that, you also need your opponents to be playing things with a bunch of big butts, which, you know, if they are, there's a decent chance you're already dead if they have like 5 units out with 5 toughness or more, so I don't know. It's very niche.
Is there, I mean, do you try to combo this off with some kind of like Rilgon's Disciple for the double damage on scene deck, or a Berserk card? Maybe in the Dragons deck, right? When you could play Provoke, or but now you're playing 4 colors. I don't know. Yeah, I just don't. I can't think of anything off the top of my head where you would really want this over some other kind of weapon that's already available.
Pretty much.
All right, and then plus, like, this is also in a world with Pristine Light, which just does this except way better. So
yeah, the options are numerous for better effects in Throne. I mean, in Expedition, there's just not a lot of decks going that big that you really care about the summon effect anyway right now. Like Lecter was saying, it'd have to be a meta thing for this to be good.
Okay. So this card, actually, our next card, our first primal card, actually has piqued my interest because this is a strategy I actually like running in my Skycrag decks, Yetis or just regular Skycrag aggro. This is Declare Victory. It is a 0-cost triple primal fast spell. Negate an enemy spell with cost 5 or higher. So it won't negate any kind of single target removal, right? Banish, Spell Ritual, Annihilate, Torch, but currently most of our board wipes, minus Hailstorm and Pristine Light, are at 5 or more. This also can negate like a Channel the Tempest if that's still around, or the Harsh Rule off of the Vestige. I don't know. So, John, once again, going back to you, just because you and I both like counter spells, what do you think about Declare Victory? Is this something you might be considering, or do you think it's still a little too narrow?
No, like, I don't think this card is really playable in Expedition at all. And, because of the markets, basically. I think there's a chance you'd want this in like some sort of go wide, like Yeti deck, for example, or something like that. Although I think those are even running salvo markets lately. But if you still have a traditional market and, are just going wide and you want that, non-hailstorm, like you said, board wipe protection, this might be a consideration.
I mean,
I don't know. I can't see a world where I want this over Switch Refusal. Like, the triple primal can be extremely hard, especially because a lot of the aggro decks are more red-based, even if they have blue, so hitting triple primal can be tough. And then just being able to hit that Hailstorm or being able to hit that like clutch, Slay or whatever like they were using to stabilize is sometimes more valuable.
Those are good points. I've never really been much of a Yeti player. I know you've played your share of Yetis, so that was like the only thing I could even think of where I maybe want this. And yeah, you're probably right there where there's just a better answer. Like if this would somehow, if you could somehow get this in your Expedition market, maybe, but even still,
All right, fair enough. Excuse me. Moving on, we have the Throne Room. 3 primal for a legendary relic. When one or more of your units hits the enemy player, you gain an Aegis. After the third time, not third unit, third time, play a 7/7 Daraka. After the 6th, play a 6/2 Island. I don't know, I always say that name wrong. And then Spellcraft 3, play Savagery. So Daraka is a 7/7 Overwhelm. When you play Island, she gets Aegis and summons stun an enemy unit. it stays stunned while you have Daraka. And then Savagery is give one of your units Killer and Overwhelm. And weird that they don't have the island here in the interesting. Which one is this one? Is this the 6-2 is the silence everything? I'll look it up while you guys talk about throne room real quick. John, take it away.
I've already seen people trying to play this card. I think there's definitely some build around applications where you actively want this in your deck. I've seen somebody going ham with like ping effects, for example, to try and spam out the Daraka basically right away. But if you're not like going pretty hard on the build around there, like this, you know, this can still maybe be a one of in like a toolbox style relic deck, but it's a little slow. Like paying 6 for Savagery is quite expensive for the one thing it does when it comes into play. But I mean, the payoffs are definitely real, especially in a format like Expedition. I don't know. I could definitely see this going into some, you know, like a one-off in some kind of TJP deck, and then if you really go ham on the ping effects and things like that, maybe this is a key card in that deck. It's definitely playable.
I just feel like you're never gonna get to Island. Like you might get Daraka, but Island's very far-reaching. Real quick before sending it over to Collector, Island the Rising Storm is a 6/12 with Pledge, which doesn't matter. Summon deals 6 damage to an enemy, and then Ultimate, the third time Island attacks, she deals 12 damage to each enemy. Alright, Collector, what's your take on the Throne Room?
I mean, the payoff's definitely very strong. I just don't know if the route to get there is reliable enough, I guess. Is that the right word? Like,
yeah, I think so.
You need to, you know, either ping them a lot, like you were saying, or you have to actually hit them in the face a lot. But if you're hitting them in the face a lot, they're probably dead anyway. So I feel like it's they're kind of like going opposite of how you want to build your deck for triggering it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel this is one of these cards where it sounds good, but at the same time, it wants you doing two things, right? To get the max value out of this, you want the long game, which is more control-y, but then to trigger it, you want to be more aggressive. And so, yeah, I think the fact that it has that kind of identity crisis type problem means it's, and like John said, you're right, man. Like, paying 6 to get Savagery seems like a lot.
Yeah, I mean, but there's ways to cheese that with like Shardbinder, and then one of the new guys we'll talk about will let you like double down on the Savagery, but you've already got to have a good board presence for any of that to matter. Like just playing it on like your Shardbinder, for example, is not going to do a lot for you. But I mean, the whole card is mostly pretty win more. Like,
Fair
would be one way to describe it.
All right. Alex, do you want to go ahead and cover the last primal card we have, considering that you're probably in the only city that's been getting decent weather right now?
The Guardian of Spring. Yeah, we just did have spring, didn't we? All right, it's a 7/6 for primal elemental. It has Overwhelm, so 7/6 for 4. There's got to be something funky with it. Summon the enemy player plays an Eye of Winter, which is a really good card. Yeah, I don't know about this card.
Like you got to build around it, right? It's you're literally giving your opponent the answer to your 7/6, because Eye of Winter is a relic that you pay to stun a unit, and effectively in practice it keeps 2 units down because you just alternate the stuns. And yeah, so
like maybe playing it with like the thing that gives all your units endurance, like some Elysian build.
Yeah, Hourglass or Pride Leader. I dig it.
They could like never stun your stuff, but
Armadillo.
But I mean, other than that, it's a pretty potent card you're giving your opponent. So, I mean,
Fair.
It does tie up power. I mean, a little bit. think Collector mentioned that in the pre-show, but I don't know. I know we got members of the Order brewing with it though.
Oh yeah, Cal jumped on it like right off the bat. I think they literally bought the campaign just for that one. What do you think, Collector? Considering that you run the old Shimmer pack, you're no stranger to Elysian or of the like. What do you think of Guardian of Spring?
Right. Well, I don't know. It's an interesting card. Like John was also mentioning that playing it, you do get to start tying up your opponent's mana. So like, if your opponent is also on a more aggressive deck or more mid-rangey deck, like instead of dropping their 4-drop, they're gonna have to choose between stunning your 7/6 for a turn or trying to drop their own thing. And if their thing isn't better than a 7/6, which it probably isn't, they won't be able to play on curve. But if you verse a more control-y type deck that's trying to play Shenron Speaks and that type of stuff anyway, they'll very happily just lock down your thing for a couple of turns, then board wipe you, and then they suddenly have an Eye of Winter, which they normally wouldn't have access to. So it's kind of like high risk, high reward in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or if you just kind of maybe I guess like a Sky Crag deck where you have Smelt Dragon somewhere, or obviously Elysian would probably there. I don't know. It you definitely want to have something in your deck that you want to already have in the deck, and it happens to have the bonus of counteracting Eye of Winter. I definitely don't want to put something in my deck that's kind of subpar just to deal with that, right?
Yeah, this could be a card in like a Throne even deck, right? Its cost is even, and you're running the Pride Leaders there already. That's one place I'm interested to try it out. And in Expedition, I'm definitely going to try it with the Hourglass and the Armadillos and see if that's a thing. But if your plan is just to play this big dude and let the opponent do Eye of Winter stuff, I don't think you're going to have a great time.
Yeah, and then it's bad in multiples, right? You give your opponent 2 Eye of Winners. It's just like, all right, good luck.
Like, what's there's the one card that transform. It's the Omen of Austerity. Is that the one? It'll transform it, and then they won't be able to play any further. Like, so I mean, that's another cheeky thing you can do to spam these guys out and not care about the Eye of Winter. But that's I don't know. I think I'm more interested to try endurance stuff than rely on that.
All right, moving on to Shadow, which I think this artwork is a younger Svetya, apparently beating up on ninjas. I'm not 100% sure. I feel like it's the artwork from Secret Passage. But anywho, Avoid Death is a uncommon slow spell for 1 Shadow. The enemy player discards a unit of your choice from their hand. Collector, I think this has some application. I personally am a fan of Sabotage and to a certain extent Shakedown, but I'm not sure about this one.
I definitely think it will see some play. Mainly, I'm thinking in shadow markets and Expedition where people are playing Condemn. It's a very good line for after they go farm reunite. You just go, Condemn, hopefully kill something, or they steal one to their face, get Avoid Death, take their Grodos Stranger out of their hand. I see that's going to probably happen a lot. But as far as main decking it goes, I probably wouldn't, just because, it's really bad to top deck late. They probably already dropped all their units, and it's not very flexible in that regard.
So let me touch on that though, because it's a theory that I have, and that might be why I'm not a very good deck brewer and just a decent, and I loosely term decent tuner, is that like I'm kind of okay putting 4 of cards that are semi-situational because you can always use them as market fodder, put them into the market to get something that's more relevant later. Should, for example, you get Avoid Death later on in the game versus it's pretty good early. And so that's the main question. And my follow-up question is the fact that right now I'm not seeing too many control decks in either meta right now. So maybe you have a higher chance of this hitting more consistently because there's going to be more unit decks versus a format where Huru control and like temporal distortion decks are more viable. So I don't know, how do you feel about that whole, like, essentially if it's not good you just send it into the market instead of pulling it out of the market?
There are definitely cards that can work more like that, but Avoid Death is one where you're never going to quite know if it's good or bad or not, because if your opponent has cards in hand, they could have a creature. So, it's a lot harder to know when you should just be sending it to the market. Unless, it's like turn 20 and they have 15 power and are holding 2 cards, it's probably not a creature. But
Fair. John, anything to add on that?
Not really. For me, I think this is definitely more of a market card. Like, that's where I'd be looking to use this. Like, basically, as described, to snipe a known card out of the opponent's hand, being like that Grodov Stranger right after the reunite kind of thing. But I'm not running a lot of decks with the 1 cost market anyway, so I don't know. I think it's definitely playable there at least.
And this is also a way to kind of get underneath some of those more one-shot strategies or high roll strategies, right? You could technically play this to snag like the elite outcast or a Adonis from someone's hand, so they can't do the whole like Adonis hit you then Cinder Clutch to win the game, I guess. But I agree with you guys. You're kind of still shooting in the dark to get it, so fair enough.
Yeah, I think I'd rather try something like Aeromoth's Designs, to try it if I was going to main deck one effect like that, like that's a similar card in a lot of matchups. It's going to be not great or dead. And so, but like it also has a higher upside of hitting multiple, cards. So I don't know. I think I'd rather main deck something like that and have this come out of the market at the right time.
Okay. Moving on, we have Blight Moth. This is a 1/2 Kieran for 2 double shadow. It has flying. And summon, give an enemy unit and each enemy that shares a type with it, not name, but type, a -1/-1. Corrupted 3. So this card's seeing some play in conjunction with another card we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Personally, I feel like the body is not enough to warrant the effect. There are a couple of X1s in the various formats like Oni Ronin, Shenra. Kazuo is probably the one that shares the most types, i.e. being an Oni. But I don't know. What do you think, Collector?
I feel like this card is a little in an awkward spot. Like, oftentimes the things you'd want to like shrink using this, you'd rather just like have an Aeromoth design and just kill everything that costs 2 or less. And you generally only play this if you have, if this is like kind of like a mirror match type thing where we're both on the sacrifice deck and like I want to kill your carvers without touching mine. But like, I'm just not sure if it's strong enough to see much play. It is a 1/2 flyer, which is not a very good body. So
Yeah, and like you mentioned, the Carver decks, like you probably hit 2 or 3 units if you use on a Grenadin or the Totemites. But at the same time, is that really enough value?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, John? Anything else on Blightmoth?
I wish this guy had like Deadly or something too. Then it'd be a little more exciting. But yeah, like this is the 3rd card in the Seneschal Hydrangea combo. You like Plague Wind all their cultists after you give them to them, but it's all just so cheesy. I don't know, like. Nerfing all their strangers, for example, -1/-1 isn't really doing the job. Like Collector said, you'd basically just rather have something like an Aeromoth Designs in most of those scenarios. So I don't know.
Yeah, and
like the fact that it leaves a shade is something, but
yeah,
being
overall,
double shadow is also hard.
yeah,
it's definitely rarely coming down in turn 2 in most cases. Yeah, it just seems like the juice isn't worth the squeeze, in this card. Like you're not getting enough out of either side of it to really warrant adding it in your deck.
pretty much.
All right, so our next card has some really sick artwork. I definitely like it, and I found out that it is a decent answer to the Tillier combo. This is Battle at the Gates. This is 4 Shadow for a fast spell. Kill each enemy unit that was played this turn, give them Voidbound, and gain 2 health for each. Battle at the Gates can't be negated or stopped by Aegis. John.
This card has some real upside going on here. It's obviously going to be good. Like you said, it can stop Talir combo from overrunning the game. It's probably good against Reanimator matchups as well. Holding up the power for this over the course of a game is not something you want to be doing with most decks. But I think like this, although I guess we're not really seeing a lot of Reanimator lately after the last market change happened, but I don't know. Maybe there's something if like Kilo decks become more popular, this might be a card worth considering. But I think it's basically a market card for most situations, and in Expedition this is a 4-cost market card, which means you're not playing it basically. So, but I think there's some Throne decks that might want this in their market.
So, Collector, would you be okay with this killing one thing with Aegis, or what's the threshold for you to be happy about playing this card?
I feel like it's a lot like Crashing Avalanche, if you guys remember that card. The primal card that deals 4 to everything that entered. I'd like to be able to be proactive instead of reactive. Like, if your opponent suspects you have this, like, they could just, spend their turn drawing some cards, or, leaving open their own removal spell for when you try to drop your 5-drop, or something along those lines. Like, not a big fan of cards like this, that if you don't have it at exactly the right time, it's just not going to do anything.
And so one of the first things that came to mind about this is, well, that it's in somewhat clean. I mean, granted, we do have the edict as well, but this is somewhat of a clean answer to Icaria as well. Do you think there's some added benefit if a deck develops in the meta where on turn X this is going to happen 90% of the time? Do you think this card goes up in value a little bit even out of the market, or not really?
Not really. Like, if you know that something is going to happen on a certain turn almost all the time, you can probably get something better. Like, against Icaria, you can just grab an edict and kill it on your turn. Like, the important part of Icaria is getting the Warcry off, which you're going to be able to do regardless of if you have the mana open anyway. I don't know, I just feel that there are better things you can do at almost all slots in the curve.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on all aspects of it. But all right, guys, that's going to do it for the monocolor cards. So we essentially got 3 from each. And now we have a cycle of the tri-faction cards, which support the 5 factions that were released here with Echoes of Eternity, Creation, Destruction, Purpose, which hopefully they do have a purpose this time, because in draft it's absolutely unguided. So starting us off here, we have the Creation one. So Alex, would you mind explaining Elham for us?
Elham, keen-eyed, looks like a she, is a Fire Time Justice, 2/2 for 2. And she says, when you play another unit, gain 1 armor, pay 5 and exhaust Elham to play a golem with power toughness equal to your number of units. So
I got this card for the preview, or that was the deck I played in the preview, and she's just too slow. Like, honestly, it's too slow to work. The 1 armor it kind of goes with weapons, but not really. And then I don't know. And then I feel like if you have a bunch of units to pay 5 to make a 4/4, a 5/5, or a 6/6 golem, yes, they do stack, right? The golems count as well, but I just feel like you're being a little too dirtily for an aggressive deck. I don't know. What were you gonna say, Alex? If I cut you off, I'm sorry.
no, I was just gonna say it seems like a hard to cast 2-drop, with like a win more payoff. So it doesn't really seem like something I'd want to be putting in a deck, really.
Yeah, and the payoff is related to you going wide, which generally this is, the colors of more armory strategies and things like that. Like,
Yeah, she doesn't really have an identity. Like, she's
Ma-
kind of weird.
Maybe there's some weird totemite deck or something like that she goes in, but I don't know.
Yeah, like it's not even board wipe protection because I mean paying 5 for a 2/2 or a 3/3 golem isn't good enough. So it's not even like you could just run her out there and be like, all right, cool, you either board wipe or run over the game. Like it doesn't quite do that either. I don't know. What's your opinion on Elham there, Collector?
I'm kind of with all you guys on this. Like, you can't even like drop it on turn 7 and just go, okay, I got 2/2/2s now. Like, what you gonna do? Like,
It's like a strictly worse Seraph, basically.
Yeah. All right, cool. So, you sadly do not make the cut. Moving on to our next Trifaction card. This one is is this the one seeing play? No, this is the Nightmare one. I've seen this one in, like a meme deck, I think. All right, so Vox, Nurturing Sadist. This is a 3.
Save.
What's up?
Good save. You saved it. You almost said it wrong.
I know it's my niche. It's my calling card. 3/2 Cultist for 2 destruction, so fire time shadow. When you play a nightmare, it gets +1/+1 for each nightmare in your void. Exhaust Vox and sacrifice 2 other units to gain 4 health. The enemy player sacrifices a unit of note. They get to pick the unit, not you. Starting off with you, Collector. What do you think of Vox?
well, I actually haven't gotten a look yet. How many nightmares are even in the expedition format?
I don't know about Expedition.
There's a decent amount. Like, there's a bunch of nightmare dragons. There's like Dread. There's the
Endless
recurring
Nightmare.
nightmare or endless
recurring.
nightmare. Yeah, and then like Dova, for example, if you get his mastery off, can make a nightmare every turn.
And then
Right.
I think the relics that make you sack units. Do any of those create a nightmare, or do they create a horror? You know? Like,
Fearbinder, for example.
is that a horror or is that a nightmare? I can't remember. Or is
I
it
think
both?
that's a horror, but I'm not 100% sure.
I'll look it up. Go ahead and finish your thought process, Collector. I'll look it up real quick.
But, I mean, I think it really just depends on how many nightmares you can jam in a deck and have them be good. I believe all the corrupted units are nightmares when they're corrupted, right?
That's also true, yeah.
Okay.
So if you have a lot of corrupted in your deck, it could do some work that way.
Fearbinder does make a nightmare. The shade or the unit it makes is a fearsome with Berserk, and it is a nightmare. So there's that corner case, I guess.
Right.
Interesting.
So, if you have a bunch of corrupted, you can Kato Shade will be +1/+1 for all future corrupted. If you're playing that new Moth, that's also corrupted, etc. But
I like that. I think that might be the best shell for Vox is just getting your inherent value off of like the dragons that are nightmares and the corrupted units. I like that shell more than probably building like a straight nightmare deck. I mean,
I don't know. I got smashed by somebody playing this yesterday with literally Dread, and I was like I didn't really understand what was happening at first, and yeah, like that Endless Nightmare coming back and being huge, and like it kind of keeps coming back and getting huger. Like that was kind of interesting, and like this guy with Dova, makes sacrificing the 2 units less painful because you get to draw a card. Like, I think there's definitely something there.
Will you draw 1 or 2 off Dova? Because you are sacrificing 2 units.
It's 1, but ideally, what you're sacrificing has some way, either is already just recurring or was a unit that made 2 units to begin with or something like that.
Drone or Kato, yeah.
Like, at first I didn't really see the payoff with this guy, but after seeing him in action, I was a little impressed, actually. Like, I think there's definitely something there.
So let me ask you this, considering that you're impressed with the way it played out, like how long did it take for them to get their engine online?
I mean, it was like basically the turn they play it, let's say you're playing like a mid-rangey deck or something and you're just kind of playing 1 unit per turn like dragons or something. Like it's quite good in that matchup. And the size of the units like gets out of hand pretty quick, actually.
Do you think it it did more work than, let's say, just having Strange Burglar in your deck?
I think it's working on a different axis there, right? Like,
I think the best part of Box is that you don't have to pay to don't have to pay power to do the ability on it. Like you can slam it on for 2 and instantly sack things.
yeah.
Yeah. We've definitely identified the value of Carver for the card being free. Yeah, it's an interesting build around. That's the one cool thing about these cards is that all 5 of them require some decent build around potential or some build around action to unlock their true potential. So we'll see how it plays out. Okay, moving on to the next one. This is Raska Rewarded, which is the Menace one. This is 2 Fire Primal Shadow for a 3/3, which is already pretty decent. We saw the value of that in Intrepid Longhorn and the old Teacher of Humility. When you play a dragon that you haven't played this game, draw Raska from your void. I've seen this card already start to show up in Dragon List, and I mean, of note, you are drawing it. It doesn't come immediately back into play, but it does cost 2. Dragons are typically somewhat expensive, so there is a little bit of an overlap there that may or may not stumble your curve overall, but it's had some value. What do you think, Collector?
I'd be happy to be proven wrong, but of all of the 5-cost ones, I think this is actually probably the weakest one, even like weaker than Elham, just because there's 3 colors, so it will be potentially hard to cast in a dragon deck. Most of the time they focus on just like Skycrag or Stone Scar with maybe a splash of the 3rd color. And so you're probably not going to be able to have the undepleted power on turn 2 to cast it a lot of the time. And then you want to just be going like turn 3 Kozin, turn 4 Dragon, and then just Dragons the rest of the game. So I don't know when you would ever want to cast this.
The other side to that is the restriction, right? It says you haven't played this game. So if you play, like you say, you play your Eclipse Dragon or your Acadonis or something like that, later on in the game when you play your second, it won't pull her out of the void. So yeah, there's a lot of restriction. And then in the late game, how valuable is just a vanilla 3/3?
Not very.
At all.
Yeah, so I think if you can get out on curve 2 on turn 2, not curve 2, turn 2, she might seem a little powerful, and then maybe getting her back on a turn where you have a window, like you play a Forge in her or a Burn spell in her. But yeah, I think you're right. I think best case scenario, you get on turn 2, you're kind of happy if you recur at one time, but are you really getting your values worth versus a Whelp or a Kozin or the Oni Smith or Dragon Smith Oni or whatever in Throne? So anything to add, John?
Yeah, like I'm basically with Collector on this one. I'm not high on this card yet at all. I wonder if there's some space for in some sort of like Menace sack deck. Like that's where I see the value in a card like this is drawing it and playing it for only 2 and just having something that you can sack multiple over multiple turns or whatever. But I mean you have to jump through a hoop to get it back. Like most good dragon decks have a toolbox of dragons, but there's only like 5 or so of them, right? Like most of your like 2, 3, 4 curve dragons are 3 or 4 ofs or whatever. So I don't know. I don't know what deck she goes in really and is impactful, but there might be one out there. But like most of those decks certainly don't care about like attacking with this recursive 3/3 on the ground. But yeah, maybe some sacrificial strategy. I don't know.
Maybe I just don't like it has to be a dragon you haven't played this turn like that, or this game like that could just shoot you in the foot so easily, and then you just played a vanilla 3/3. All right.
Yep.
Moving on, we have the tradition one. This is Casper Orin of Kosul, which is presumably Svetya's dad, I guess, since we're time traveling. This is a 2/1 soldier for 2 tradition, time, justice, primal. he has Exalted, and then when Casper hits the enemy player, replenish your power. It's not like the quiver, I think, right? What's the longbow? Longbow, I'm sorry. It's not longbow. It doesn't eat their undepleted power. It straight up replenishes your power, period, as long as he hits the opponent. And the first time you activate or spellcraft a relic each turn, copy that ability, which can seem extremely powerful. I've seen a Grodos Burden draw 2 cards a turn. Trying to think of a strong spellcraft. The one we talked about, the Throne, already. I've seen it give 2 units Savagery, which is kind of okay.
Kodash's armor is scary with this guy in
Oh
play.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's the good one. You make 4
even
2
Burden just bottoming 2 cards is really strong.
Yeah.
Yep. So Collector, let's start off with you. What do you think of Casper?
So Casper definitely has a bunch of very powerful things you can do with it. I know we've already mentioned a few of them. Its Exalted ability is kind of random, since, you know, if you're playing a relic based deck, you probably don't have many creatures to exalt onto anyway. And the hitting the enemy player seems kind of extra. I don't know how often you're actually going to be able to do that, but yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see what people brew up with it. I know people are. I don't know if it will make the top tiers competitive, but it'll be at least fun to play with.
So do you think this one benefits from only being a 2-cost unit? Because then you could play it later and kind of combo off, like, instead of leaving it out there so vulnerable to get, you know, removed from the board or anything like that. Do you see more people waiting to play this either the turn before or the same turn that they plan on spellcrafting or doing something big?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely a card you'd want to hold on to. Like, I've been thinking about putting this in like a Chalice list, because you can drop Chalice on 4, and then on turn 5 you can drop Caspar, make it a 6/5, and draw 2. I believe that should work that way. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No. Someone actually played it and told me the way it works is you will draw 2 cards, but it only gets 1 +2/+2.
That makes sense.
Sounds like bug to me, but
Yeah, it's hard to say exactly how the timing works, right? Because in one aspect, I can understand that, because it could be like, okay, the first +2/+2 goes on, and then the second one looks at it, it's be like, oh, it's a 4, it's 4 greater, so I can't do this. But it's still giving you the 2 cards, so I'm not necessarily sure.
one half of that sounds like a bug, either the extra card or the non-pump,
Right.
just because the 2 or less and exhausting it is part of the cost, and you're not paying the cost twice. So I don't know, but
Yeah,
that will fix half of it, apparently.
yeah. And then, of course, man, I say that because you want to capitalize on spellcraft, but I guess if you don't have it, there is some inherent value of being able to play twice as much stuff in one turn. So I guess there could be an argument to run them out there as quickly as possible, because, you know, you run them out there on turn 3 or even 2, and then turn 4 you play a relic for 4, smash, and then play something else, continue to develop your board. There's some benefit there. I don't know. I guess both sides are good.
Yeah, it'll all just depend on what the matchup looks like and what kind of removal you're expecting or whatnot.
Fair. And then obviously right now in this current meta, an X1 is extremely vulnerable. They're being Vara's Favor, Condemn. People are playing that Blink Moth that we just talked about earlier, Blight Moth. And I feel like there's one more 1 damage that's escaping me. I mean, obviously there's Salvo as well, is pretty predominant, but that's also X2s. So
Right. I would have loved this being a 1/3.
yeah.
I think
John, anything to add?
No, I think this guy can definitely enable some really busted stuff. I'm excited to brew with him as well. It's interesting, like Collector mentioned that he has Exalted for some reason. Like, I just wonder if that's a flavor thing. You know, he's wearing this all of his clothes have these like gems that are reminiscent of like the Zoltan people and whatever. I wonder if that's some story thing that, you know, if we had a campaign, we might find out about.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. That probably is right. Exalt, because I mean he's the Orin, so yeah, that's a good
Like,
observation.
what's his connection with
Yeah.
the people of Zolta? You know, it's got to be something there.
So you did used to play with Rats decks as well as various relic decks. Is this something that you're really brewing because of that, or just in general that this card seems spicy to you?
I think some of the more powerful cards, like an Expedition, for example, are like Grodov's Burden and Kodash's Armor and just other busted relics and things like that. And I think there's probably a real deck where this guy will do some broken things in. So,
Yeah.
you know, not because of my history with rats. No, like I just think this is probably a good card.
Like
Yeah.
Chalice is expedition legal. If you can manage to keep dragons under wraps, I think it could do real work in the format potentially.
Man,
Yeah.
thinking about loot, I wouldn't mind getting 2 obliterates, but I mean, obviously then you're splashing for 4 colors, so that's a little greedy. But I'm trying to think of what other broken relics you can like spellcraft to do really busted things. I mean, I guess you could do double bounce with the refuge, but that just seems kind of meh. All right, yeah. Anywho, let's move on to our final one, which was probably one of the ones I was seeing the most excitement. It's the first one I've brewed with, and honestly, I've been unimpressed. I think there might just not be enough summon effects to make this one viable, but let me go ahead and read it. This is Kilo, Bold Innovator. It is a 1/3 Tinker for 2 Tradition, Justice, Primal Shadow. Pay 2, exhaust Kilo, and sacrifice a unit to play another unit from your deck, with cost equal to the sacrificed units plus 1 for each of its battle skills. So if you sack just a vanilla 3-cost unit, you get to go get a 3-cost unit. If you sack a 3-cost unit with 1 battle skill, like for example flying, you get a 4-cost unit. And if you sacrifice something like a commando, which is a 3-cost unit with flying and lifesteal, you get to go get a 5-cost unit. A couple other things is that it is exactly that cost because it's equal to, so you can't get anything more or less than that specific cost. And it does exhaust Kilo, so you without any other shenanigans, you can only use her once per turn. In my experiences, the way I've been playing her out, she is extremely vulnerable as a 1/3, so I actually like playing her out on turn 4, or at least in some avenue or the turn where I could play her and activate her immediately. And yeah, you really want to capitalize on the unit with a summon effect. You want to get your value off it. One of the combos we've seen already is going into Aura Piercer, because you sack the unit to go search up Aura Piercer, so you trigger the tribute, so that gets you a card back, and then you could sack the Aura Piercer the next turn to get Vara, which gets your Aura Piercer back, so there's some pseudo synergy there. And of course you get another tribute invoke, so there is that. Commando is a good one because it ramps you from 3 to 5, but you really want to capitalize. Like, I've tried some things with like some corrupted units, so you get 2-cost units. There's some cute things you could do, but overall she's just been a little too unimpactful so far. I've seen people play her with Macto, that takes you from 5 to 7 and gives you kind of the Macto back. And then Kimoni is the other one, so you can go get Kimoni. Kimoni will ready Kilo, so you can sack the Kimoni that same turn. But overall, I've just not been impressed playing with her and playing against her. Sorry, I was gonna say Innovator. Collector, I guess that's also accurate. But Collector, what's your experience with Kilo?
So a lot of what you said's right. Like, she requires a very specific deck to be built around her to function at its best. So it'll most likely never do much in things like Expedition, where the card pool is a lot more limited. But it's the type of card that Direwolf's going to have to kind of keep in the back of their head when they're thinking about designing new cards in the future, and that you got to kind of constantly keep watch for. Because as more sets come out, like more campaigns, more full sets, etc., we'll just get more and more creatures with a bunch of different abilities, and eventually you'll reach the critical mass where you can just kind of throw them all together, and even if you don't ever draw a Kilo, it'll be good. But if you draw a Kilo, then it gets supercharged and things go crazy.
Yeah,
I don't think we're quite there yet, but
yeah, that's a very good point. That was the other thing I forgot to mention, which is very important, is the fact that when you do build your deck, it's very easy to get caught up in like, well, I'll just Kilo up the chain this way. And you definitely have to take in consideration the fact that we can no longer run the 3/1 markets, so there's no longer 7 copies of a card in your deck. And so there's going to be times where you just never see Kilo. And so you really want to make sure that your deck can operate still at an efficient level, regardless of whether you draw Kilo or not. And then, like you mentioned, it just becomes busted when you are able to work up the chain with Kilo. Of note as well that you can't go back down unless you. I experimented a little bit with, like, for example, Zalchi being the 7 cost top end of my deck, and then if he should die, it makes 2 3/3s or 2 4/4s that cost 3, so I can kind of reset the chain. So you do have to take that in consideration. What was the other thing? And then obviously Zalchi is instinct, so it has fire and time in it, and I was still able to search it. So that's the other thing about Kilo, is that it does not require influence. It just looks at the cost. So you can do kind of like a reanimator start thing with Azendel, where you have cards in your deck that you can straight up never cast unless you search them up with Kilo. John.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have said a lot about this card already. She's another fun one. Like, this whole set is like Johnny heaven. But this one, I don't know. Like, I don't know if there's a busted deck with this, but there's definitely some level of competitiveness to it. I was watching Sonny the other day, and he just brewed up a Kilo deck, and it actually seemed pretty good. It was, like top end Icaria type stuff. Just the goal being just power out an Icaria. But I mean, the weakness is there, like as far as Kilo herself. Like at least you can. If you can play her and do the ability in the one turn, you'll at least get to do the thing at least once there. But it's, a 1/3 body. It's kind of a liability in a lot of ways. And this is, your whole deck is going to be warped around doing this. I've also seen some promising even-handed lists, especially when you add in something like Reweave, for example. Lets you kind of run a bunch more copies of Kilo in a way in that case. But then you're also running like golems, which, I mean, yeah, they give you the value, but they're not themselves exciting to sacrifice to Kilo. So there's, it's that's like a bit of a non-bow.
I mean, sacrificing a golem to Kilo is great. You get to draw 2 cards.
Right. Yeah, you just replace it with another golem.
Exactly.
That's one good use of it, but I don't know, like, and so like that whole deck, you're obviously without a market, so I mean that basically lets you run a bunch more Kilos, and then maybe there's some way to get additional value out of like late game Reweaves. I'm not sure. I haven't really built the list myself, but I mean there's definitely something there. I don't know. I think it's a pretty solid build around card overall.
All right, fair. We'll see. Only time will tell if there's a broken chain we can design with Kilo or not. All right, so that does it for the Trifaction cycle, which leads us to the final card in this campaign, which is a power. And I definitely like this space. I like when they play around with power, honestly, because it's something that we have to put in every deck. So when they give us more options and not just auto slam the dual faction ones, I think it's extremely fun. What deck wants to play the warp one, what deck wants, I mean, sadly there's no life gain, that one doesn't matter yet, but anywho, tempting offer is a power. Reduce, it doesn't say undepleted, so it's just power, but it does not give you an influence. Instead, it reads, reduce the cost of the top 5 factionless cards of each player's deck by 1. All right, man. Sending it back to you, John. What do you think?
So I don't know that there's anything close to a good factionless deck, for you to really be all in on this, and being super excited about the effect yourself. I think the more exciting thing here is just completely hosing even decks in Throne or whatever right now. If you're running like, I don't know, a 2 faction or less deck, I don't think your power base is necessarily going to take a huge hit by running this. And then you just ruin all of the, even dreams of even opponents out there when you just happen to play this. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, and do you think this might be a recursion of Kaifus maybe? Right? You run this to hose the even decks, and then you also get a little bit of benefit with Kaifus coming down on 5 instead of 6? or not really? Am I digging too deep?
I don't know. Like maybe in the future they'll have more support for factionless, cards. Maybe in the next set or something where that'll be a real thing. But I mean, reducing Kaifus by 1 is not, or even 2. I don't know. Like I don't think that that's necessarily gonna win you a lot of games.
I mean, it's free though, right? Like you're not spending. Technically, you're not spending. I mean, it is a card, but it's taking a power slot. I'm trying to think. The only other strangers, like not even the influence fixing strangers, see play in constructed right now. So I can't think of any other random neutral card or factionless card that sees play right now. Collector, do you have
what's
it? Oh, sorry.
What's the other one? Like the veteran mercenary. Like that's like one of the better factionless cards, but it cares about you having one faction in your deck anyway. So it's kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think anyone should be playing this. I know some people will be just because they hate Golem that much and they would love to play it just to screw them over. But like if you're playing 4 of them, the second one fixes Golem anyway because now they all cost 0. And if you're only playing like 1, you're not going to hit it often. And like even the 2-color decks, like your opening hand is Time Sigil and this, and then suddenly you're like, well, now I have to mulligan this otherwise keepable hand because I don't have my colors. Like, it's just not worth the risk.
So
no, I'm right there with you on that. But some people just irrationally hate Golem decks. So
let me throw one other thing to you guys, and let me know if you guys think it's worth it. But it does make Seek Powers free though. So you're actually not going down a power that turn to play Seek Power. You get to go find your power for free. The chants still count as multi-faction, right? Or are they factionless?
They're not factionless.
Okay.
Yeah, you've always been able to put them in your well, I don't know about chance, but like the cargoes, for example, you could put in your markets, in your old markets.
Okay. Well, okay. Right. So Seek Powers, do you think it's worth any kind of value by making Seek Powers free?
No, I mean, Seek Power is basically just a depleted power to begin with, and like playing a colorless power to make that a non-depleted power just doesn't seem strong enough.
All right, fair. John, any closing statements on that?
No. I think that's this is literally just for all these people that won't shut up about golems.
All right, cool. So, yeah, I guess that's the campaign. Shoot, I guess I should have looked up. Actually, I have the game open real quick. So let me backtrack a little bit. I do apologize to our listeners. I probably should have said this at the beginning, and I'm not going to edit it. So the campaign is... Oh my god, where is it now? I don't even see it. Oh, no, that's the theme bundle.
Man, I wish I could help you here.
Oh,
I'm not
okay,
even sure what you're going for.
The cost of it, that's all.
2,000 gems.
It's 2,000 gems? All right, cool. And then how much gold?
For the premium bundle, sorry.
Yeah, I think it's 1,000 gems for non-premium and 25,000 gold is what I paid for it.
Wow.
Yeah, 1,000 or 25,000 gold for non-premium, and then 2,000 for premium.
Okay, perfect. For some reason, I'm not seeing it in the game client. Where?
You gotta go into promotions for premium.
I did. That's so weird.
You bought the pre-order, so it all just might not be there for you.
Yeah, I guess so. So that's a little awkward because I could see it on the promotions tab, but as soon as I click it, I don't see it. So,
like normal campaigns in the past have had a way to upgrade if you bought with gold initially, and apparently this one doesn't have that. So that might be another reason why it's a little weird in the store for you.
Fair. Oh well. All right. So I digress. All right. So that's gonna do it. Overall, I think you guys are right. I don't see this making a huge splash in constructed. So if you guys aren't really much of a brewer, you don't want to build all these great, interesting build arounds. I think you can probably effectively pass on this one. I don't think you're missing out on much. If you are someone that likes to do these fun and unique build arounds, then this might be the campaign for you. Collector, do you have any closing overall statements on the campaign before we move on?
No, I think we covered most of it.
All right, sweet. So that's going to do it for that, which leads us into our What's the Play. So this week's What's the Play, our opponent is at 5 power Elysian. We are at 5 power Tradition. Opponent's at 25. We're at 18. On the board, they have the 1/3 Lookout, 2 1/1 Flying Humbugs, and then the 3/1 Flying Reckless Snapper. I don't remember the name of the card.
Sky Snapper.
Yeah, all right, there you go, Sky Snapper. Our board consists of a 3/1 Book Yeti. What is it? Book throwing? Oh gosh,
Hit
Book
the
Club
box.
huh? Book Club
Book
Yeti?
Club Yeti.
Yeah, there you go. Book Club Yeti. Yeah, I heard the hit the books. I just forgot the actual name. It has Deadly thanks to a Touch of Battle. And then our opponent has 3 cards in hand. We have 5 with a Draw Strength, a Rageheart Paladin that has the Deadly from the Touch of Battle, the 4/5 Draconis for 7, the 5-cost Tainted Mark that draws us a card whenever we hit our opponent, and a Token of Purpose. Collector, let's start off with you. What kind of lines of play are you looking to do here?
So I guess to start out with, do you remember if they'd used any removal already this game or no?
Yes. Don't remember on what unit, but they did use, I think, a Biting Winds on an earlier unit.
I think that I would probably just drop the Rageheart Paladin this turn, then be looking to follow it up with a Tainted Mark plus Draw Strength the following turn.
Okay. All right. John?
Yeah, I'm also thinking of just playing the Paladin here. Definitely not attacking. Like, even if they, you know, you don't want to trade this with their 1/3, and you don't want to use a draw strength to save your Yeti. So that's just all kind of bad. I like the spicy Book Club Yeti with Deadly, so that'll just kill anything even without a relic. Although you do have a nice costly relic coming up here anyway. I guess you've already played your power for the turn because the token's not glowing. So that means like the only way you can draw strength and Tainted Mark next turn is if we get an undepleted power, which I think I'd still probably play the depleted power next turn so that we could get the Draconis out on time in that case. But yeah, I mean, Paladin into a Tainted Mark, that'll be one big Paladin. So you just won't even care about all this damage you're taking in the air. It'll be out of Biting Winds range anyway. Yeah, that's a pretty strong looking Paladin there. I just want to get him out here, and like probably that'll just stop their ground attack next turn anyway, unless they have something ridiculous.
So neither of you have any consideration for Provoke the Dragons?
I mean, it's an uncommon. I'm not super worried about it. I feel like if they had it, they probably would have killed. Well, is Sky Snapper a dragon?
No, it's
I
don't think it's a dragon.
No, I think it's a serpent.
nightmare.
It's a serpent.
Serpent or something weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the tribal clan flying mount or whatnot. So,
but yeah, I don't respect Provoke the Dragons here. Like, and I don't think Static Bolt is in the format anymore, right?
It's not.
No, yeah, the only other one they would have would be Greed's Reward, and then is
or Honeypot, but that's not turned on at this point.
Fair. And then the other thing that crossed my mind is potentially using the Yeti to take out the Snapper. I mean, granted, we are at 18; they'll be able to crack back, take us down to 13. Was that any kind of a consideration for you guys as well, or potentially attacking with the Yeti to clear the 3/1? I mean, I know that's less value, but so the Paladin can get in there the following turn and whatnot.
No, I don't think so. I'm more interested in just the Paladin's life gain. Even if it gets chump blocked or something, I don't even care really. Just getting back to life just negates all these flying damage basically until you can get your giant dragon out and stonewall him anyway.
Yeah, if you were to Tainted Mark and kill the 3/1 this turn, you're going to take 3 on theirs, go to 15, like you'll untap, drop your Paladin, and then they'll attack you for 2 in the air, assuming they do nothing. So you're already at 13. You're like pretty much the same life total anyway, but dropping the Paladin early, you'll end up with 1 less life, but you'll be in a better spot to shore up the ground. So
yeah,
good point.
And then obviously playing the Paladin this turn means next turn you get attacked with both to draw a card.
Yeah, I'm not probably attacking with the Book Club Yeti because I want to trade it with the 1/3. I'd rather save it to trade with a Sapphire Dragon or something along those lines.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same there.
All right. Sweet. So that's the what's the play. Nothing crazy, but something to discuss. I feel like it definitely was considering. I think I at the time I'm pretty sure I still ran out the Rageheart Paladin, but I did give it a pause because I wanted to have a little bit of respect for Provoke the Dragons, or maybe even like a 2 power relic and a honeypot. But the thing that I ended up throwing out anyways is just, even if they had the plunge or the killer, I would have lost the paladin anyways. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I just ended up running out the paladin. All right, that takes us to our constructed corner, which Collector brought up to our attention a potential combo deck. So this one is a Destruction Talir combo deck, which we are starting to see in the ladder, comboing off with like Kairos and things like that. This one is 4 Initiate of the Sands, 4 Devotee of Sands, 4 Voice of the Speaker. I like that. 4 Aurelian Merchant, 4 East Annex Smuggler, 4 Ebon Dune Smuggler, 2 Scorpion Wasp. Oh no, never mind. 3 Scorpion Wasp. It just did the alternate artwork thing, which it does to my Permafrost, and it is so tilting. 4 Sabertooth Pride Leader, 2 Twin Brood Saurbod, 1 Yushkov Brutal Tyrant, 4 Kairos Grand Champion, 4 Last Chance, 4 Destruction Chant, 4 Display of Destruction, 3 Fire Sigil, 5 Time Sigil, 1 Shadow Sigil, 4 Crest of Impulse, 4 Praxis Banner, and 4 Crest of Mystery, 4 Xenon Banner. And the market consists of 1 Vara's Choice, 1 Turn Back Time, 1 Ancestral Oasis, 1 Vodacon Temple Speaker, and 1 Talir Who Sees Beyond. Collector, take it away.
So for those of you who haven't seen Talir combo before, don't know how it works, is you generally try to ramp up to 8 mana, mark it for the Talir, who gives all of your time units Destiny, and then you'll hopefully have one of your 12 merchants in the Void, and then you last chance it back, it gets cast for free, and then once it's cast for free, it comes into play, it grabs Vodacon from your market, that comes into play, and now suddenly every single time card, every time creature in your deck, and every single power in your deck has Destiny, and so you just kind of cycle through, draw your entire deck, and then at this point you probably have a 50-50 Vodacon or so. You know, you only have 25 power, but you voice the speaker, doubling your power as you draw them. And then you just drop the Yushkov, pay 3, and send 50 damage or whatever at their face with Vodacon. You also have some last chances if you need to recast something. And this one also has Kairos to deal extra damage to their face mid-combo, just in case you're starting to fizzle. This deck, could probably use some refinement. This one, we saw Yoda play on stream the other day, but you just try to ramp into it very quickly. You got Initiates and Devotees of Sand to ramp you up. So ideally, you could go like turn 1, Initiate of Sand, turn 2, Aurelian Merchant, turn 3, you're already at 5 power. At that point, assuming you have time, Fire, Shadow, you could Destruction Chant, not Destruction Chant, you could Display of Destruction, stack your Aurelian Merchant, cast Talir, and then last chance back, and even combo them out on turn 3. You won't do that often, but it can happen. It's fun to play. If you can kill the ramp, you can disrupt it long enough to kill them if you're aggressive. But yeah, nowhere else to take the description. So
Yeah,
That's really cool.
you definitely have to be in the right mindset for combo decks, right? Because essentially, until you combo off, you're just kind of either playing solitaire or losing, and then all of a sudden you just turn the corner in 1 turn and win. So
What's what do other versions have instead of Yushkov, right?
right. So way back in the day when the deck first came up, the Destiny worked a lot differently, so you didn't need these extra win cons to kill them. But once Destiny got changed, and you couldn't just keep flooding things onto the board, decks are running Grinva, what was it? Time, Shadow, Justice card, and they were splashing Justice just for Grinva, and they would cast that, sacrifice the Vodacon, and kill you that way. Some versions would run a Kairos in the market instead of Vodacon, and just hope they hit enough creatures to kill you off that. Yushkov lets you stick to the fire and still play some of the extra ramp cards like Display of Destruction without having to splash into green in your power base.
Yeah, that's a really good innovation. This seems pretty good.
Yeah, I really like the display of destruction splash because just ramping you, 3 power that turn is huge. It definitely speeds up the clock a lot for this deck, so I like that. And obviously putting the smuggler in the void is good because you last chance it for free. It's a time unit, so it triggers the destiny off of Talir, which puts it into play, which means you get to go to your market, grab the Vodacon, which is also time, and it comes into play for free. So, and that just goes off.
Yeah, and this, I guess the whole idea is that when you do hit Yushkov mid combo, that just stops it right there, and you can play them and get the kill that way.
You'll generally keep going even after you draw Yushkov, just because if you have a voice of the speaker out, when you draw a power, that'll draw you 2 cards, which means that, as long as you don't hit a chain of like 4 displays, 4 destruction chants back to back, you're probably just going to keep going until you draw your whole deck. But...
Cool.
Solid deck design there. Nice. All right, so I will once again post the Eternal Warcry link in the show notes so you guys can check it out if it is something you are interested in playing. And yeah, it actually, well, I guess the Kairos makes it, 4 Kairos makes it a little expensive, but other than that, it's 1 Vodacon and 1 Talir, and then the Yushkov comes with the campaign. So overall, somewhat of a budget build as well.
Yeah, good point.
All right, well, that's going to do it, guys. We're going to wrap up here. That's going to be our show this week. Hope you enjoyed our breakdown of the latest campaign, Whispers of the Throne. Collector, thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate having you, friend.
My pleasure.
Where can people find you at?
I stream maybe once every couple of months on Twitch at Walking Sponge. You won't catch me often, but you will see me do draft or whatnot occasionally, so...
And then what Discords do you normally hang out in if people want to congratulate you on your next big tournament win?
I'm often... There's a few often in Ilion's Discord, Friends of Eternal, Farming Eternal, just a lot of the Eternal ones you can find me in. Just ping me one of them, you'll probably find me.
All right, fair enough. And speaking of Once in a Blue Moon streams, John.
Yeah, I'm on the quarterly Plan with Collector here. Like, if you're not following us, then you'll never know that you missed us.
Exactly.
Only the coolest of people show up for our streams. Like this, it's all according to plan.
It's a paperclip, Clippy. So
yeah, I see Clippy out and about there in Twitch chats where Collector's hanging out. But yeah, I'm about to do my promised quarterly stream here any day now. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, no, I always hanging out in Jedi stream and Jedi's Discord, and also Friends of Eternal and Farming Eternal Discords that Collector just mentioned as well.
Yeah, Clippy's one of my favorite emotes. So definitely on point there. I got to figure out if I can make like Clippy's tail turn into a lightsaber. Then I could work it that way. But yeah, you can also find Alex in my streams and Discords as well. Definitely consider twitch.tv/Jedi_EGA where you can catch these great gentlemen and myself. They're doing great. I'm punting, but they're doing great. 4 days a week, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Do a lot of drafting, but like I said, I might start doing a little more constructed on Saturdays and maybe host the occasional tournament like we did the charity, but I'll definitely have to clean it up and make it a little bit better. Thank you again, both John and Collector, for participating in that. Really appreciate it. You guys were fun to watch as usual.
Yeah, great tournament, man.
Super fun.
YouTube, you can catch all this stuff online, offline and online, whatever. YouTube, EternalJourney. The Discord, we already mentioned it, and that's going to do it, guys. So, of course, as always, we appreciate you tuning in. Hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed it. Keep that feedback coming, good and bad. It's how we get better at this game and at this show. But that's going to do it. So until next time, as always, happy gaming.
Good night, everybody.
Good luck in your draft queues.